I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Every time I saw Jake and my best friend laughing together, my stomach knotted up. It was like they had their own secret world, and I was on the outside looking in. I kept telling myself it was just my imagination, but deep down, I knew I had to face it. Then, one day, I walked in on them sharing a quick kiss, and my heart dropped. I felt like someone had pulled the ground right out from under me. I woke up that morning feeling good. But everything changed when I saw Sarah with Jake. She was my best friend, the one I trusted with everything. But there they were, laughing together under the bright sun. My heart raced, and my stomach twisted into knots. When I saw her kiss Jake, it felt like someone punched me. My world started to fall apart. How could Sarah do this to me? I'd told her how I felt about Jake. Anger burned inside me like a wildfire. She chose him over our friendship, and it hurt so much, I wanted to scream at them, to run over and confront them right then and there. But I hesitated. I couldn't just let this betrayal slide. I felt lost, confused, and completely betrayed. Suddenly, I had a choice to make: confront them or use this to my advantage. The idea of revenge sparked in my mind. I could expose their lies, and make them feel the pain they caused me. I needed to act. I'd make them pay for the hurt they caused, and I'd take back the power they'd stolen from me. How do you know when someone is hiding something from you? It can be tricky, but there are signs you can spot. First, look at their body language. If they avoid your gaze, fidget like crazy, or cross their arms, they might be feeling guilty. Listen closely to how they talk. If they pause a lot or give vague answers, you should start to wonder if you can trust them. Sometimes, people use sweet talk or get super defensive when they're hiding something. It's like they're trying to distract you from what's really going on. If your friend starts crossing boundaries, that's a big red flag. Another big clue is when their stories don't match up. If you catch them lying, it can really shake your trust in them. It's like a punch in the gut when you realize they're twisting the truth. Finding out if someone is honest isn't just about the words they say. It's also about how they say it. If your friend seems more worried about covering themselves than how you feel, that's a major warning sign. As I walked through the messy web of lies, I'd to track down Jake and Sarah. My heart pounded in my chest. I felt their smiles hid dark secrets, and I was determined to find the truth. I needed to know what they were hiding, not just for me, but to expose the lies that built their lives. I started by thinking back to the park that day. Sarah had been acting weird, laughing too much with Jake. It hit me. They had planned this whole thing to trick me. I needed answers, so I began asking our friends if they'd seen anything strange. I was on a mission. Each bit of news was like a missing puzzle piece. I found out about their late-night texts, the sneaky phone calls, and the way they thought I wouldn't notice. Anger bubbled inside me, but I pushed it down. It was fuel for my journey. I decided to confront Sarah. I wanted to show her that this wasn't just some silly fling. It was a plan that hurt me badly. I could feel the truth waiting for me at the end of this trail. I promised myself I wouldn't stop until every hidden truth was out in the open. This was my chance to take back my life. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady. "We need to talk. I know what you and Jake have been up to." Her face paled, and I felt a thrill of power. I was ready to uncover everything. The game of betrayal was about to end, and I'd make sure the truth came out. I thought I knew everything, but what I found next turned my world upside down. One day, while scrolling through my phone, I stumbled upon messages between Sarah and Jake. My heart raced. Inside jokes and sweet whispers filled the screen. My stomach twisted. They talked about fun times I thought were just ours. I felt like I was going to be sick. Suddenly, all my beliefs crumbled like sandcastles. I thought Sarah's betrayal was just a silly kiss, but it was way worse. Their bond was built on lies that hit me like a punch in the gut. Tears streamed down my face as I sat there, feeling foolish for trusting her. When I finally faced Sarah, she looked sorry. "I'm so sorry," she said, but her words felt hollow. How could she say she cared while hiding so much? I wanted her to feel the hurt I felt. Her tears only made it worse. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about the trust that was broken. "Why, Sarah? How could you?" I shouted, my voice shaking with hurt. She just shrugged, her eyes cold. "It's just how life is. Get over it." I wanted to scream, but instead I took a deep breath. Rebuilding trust wouldn't happen overnight. I'd to face my feelings, even when they felt like a storm inside me. I knew I'd to grow from this. I needed to be stronger, smarter. I started asking myself hard questions. What should I do next? How could I take back control? I realized I needed a plan. Confronting Sarah again could either help or hurt. Do I really want to forgive her? "You think this is over?" I confronted her one day, my heart racing. "I don't care," she snapped, her voice sharp. But I cared. Revenge was tempting, like a poison apple. I could feel it tugging at me, whispering sweet nothings of payback. Yet I knew it would only make things worse. I took a step back and focused on self-reflection. "I won't let you win," I muttered to myself. I'd to rise from this betrayal. It was time to take charge of my life, not let the darkness consume me. I couldn't believe Sarah and Jake had betrayed me. It was time for revenge, and I was ready to make them pay. I needed a plan, and I'd one brewing in my mind. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they'd done. First, I decided to invite our friends over for a casual hangout. But it wouldn't be just any get-together. I was going to reveal everything and show them the truth. I could see how Sarah and Jake pretended like nothing was wrong, but I knew they were scared deep down. I was going to use that fear against them. As I wrote my plan, anger mixed with excitement surged through me. I pictured myself telling everyone how Sarah had stabbed me in the back and how Jake had played us both. I could almost see their faces when they realized everyone knew the truth. The shame would be my victory. I practiced my speech in front of the mirror, determined to sound brave. "You guys think it's okay to keep secrets?" I'd say, locking eyes with them. Sarah broke our friendship, and Jake was in on it. The words felt powerful, and I knew they'd hit hard. The night of the get-together came. Friends arrived, laughter filled the air, but I was ready. I stood up, heart racing. "Can I have your attention?" I called out. Everyone turned to me. Sarah and Jake exchanged worried glances. I took a deep breath and continued. "I need to tell you all something important." The room fell silent. Sarah betrayed our friendship, and Jake was part of it. Gasps echoed around the room. I watched their faces drain of color, and I felt a rush of triumph. Sarah stammered, "That's not true." But I wasn't backing down. I was reclaiming my power. The truth was out, and I wasn't going to let them manipulate me anymore. I wanted them to feel the heartbreak they'd caused, and I could see it in their eyes. This was just the beginning. I'd a plan, and it was time to put it into action. Inviting our friends over felt like the perfect way to show everyone the truth about Sarah and Jake. They thought they could keep their secret meetings hidden from me, but I was ready to expose them. When I sent out the invites, my excitement bubbled inside. I imagined Sarah's face when she realized I'd gathered everyone to unveil her betrayal. I kept the mood casual, so no one would suspect the storm brewing. As the day got closer, I felt a mix of thrill and nerves. Would my plan actually work? The day arrived, and friends came in one by one, filling the room with laughter. I played the friendly host, serving snacks and drinks while secretly plotting my big moment. I watched everyone chat, unaware of the tension simmering just below the surface. Finally, the chatter hushed, and I knew it was time. I took a deep breath, ready to drop the truth bomb. "Hey everyone, can we talk?" I called out, my voice steady. I wanted Sarah to feel the weight of her actions, to see that her betrayal wouldn't go unnoticed. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. "Sarah, Jake, why have you been meeting behind my back?" I asked, my heart racing. Gasps echoed around the room. Sarah's face turned pale, and Jake shifted uncomfortably. "It's not what you think," Sarah stammered, but I wasn't letting her off easy. No? Then what's it? I shot back, anger boiling inside. You thought I wouldn't find out. You thought I'd just stand here and let you two laugh at me. The tension crackled like electricity. I could see the shock on my friends' faces, and I knew I'd their attention. This wasn't just a casual gathering. It was my chance to reclaim my power. Enough of the lies, I shouted. I deserve the truth. I called for their attention, and my heart raced. I was ready to spill a secret, and I could feel the tension in the air. My friends were staring at me, waiting for what I'd to say. Guys, listen up. I've something super important to tell you, I said, my voice steady but my insides churning. They leaned in, a mix of worry and excitement on their faces. Sarah has been sneaking around with Jake behind my back. Gasps filled the room. Eyes widened and mouths dropped open. I watched disbelief spread like wildfire. I felt a strange thrill surge through me. Finally, everyone would know the truth. I glanced at Sarah and her face went white. That was exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. Friends looked at each other, their trust starting to waver. But then doubt crept in. Was I the bad guy now? I shook it off. I'd to keep going. Sarah needed to face what she'd done. I was ready to watch her life fall apart. Why would you do this to me, Sarah? I demanded, my voice raising. You lied to my face. I didn't mean to, she stammered, her eyes darting around the room. No excuses, I shot back, feeling powerful. You chose to betray me. I thought there would be gasps or whispers, but instead, there was just silence. My friends stared at me, their faces frozen in shock as they tried to understand what I just revealed. It hit me hard. This betrayal was shaking our friendship to its core. Their eyes flicked between me and Sarah, confusion and sympathy written all over their faces. Some of my friends fidgeted, unsure of what to say. A couple stood by my side, showing their loyalty, while others hesitated, caught in the awkward tension. I could almost hear the whispers starting up, like a wildfire spreading in the background. Sarah's betrayal was already causing a stir, threatening to tear apart the bonds we'd built. The silence felt heavy, like a weight on my chest. I'd meant to expose Sarah's lies, but now I was watching our friendships fall apart. The way my friends looked at me reminded me that this was bigger than just my pain. It was about the trust we all had, now broken. Finally, a few brave friends spoke up, backing me up, but their support felt far away. I realized I'd started a whirlwind, one that would change everything. I wanted to make things right, but I was faced with the messy truth of betrayal. I sank back, my heart heavy, knowing I'd opened a door that I couldn't shut again. Can you believe she'd do this? One friend said, anger seeping into their voice. I thought we were all in this together, another chimed in, looking at Sarah with disappointment. Watching my friends react felt like a roller coaster. I'd just told everyone about Sarah's betrayal. A wave of satisfaction washed over me, but it, was mixed with guilt, like a storm cloud hanging overhead. My stomach churned. Did I really do the right thing? In the cafeteria, whispers filled the air. Can you believe Sarah? One friend said, pointing. I could feel the tension in the room. Everyone was unsure of whom to trust. I'd exposed the truth, but was it worth it? The weight of Sarah's pain sat heavy on my chest. I wanted her to understand how much she hurt me, but seeing her distressed made me question everything. Then it hit me. I wasn't just hurting her, I was hurting myself. I thought I was gaining power by turning my friends against her, but all I was doing was digging deeper into my own pain. This isn't what I wanted, I whispered to myself, feeling trapped in a cycle of hurt. Suddenly, Jake burst into the cafeteria, eyes blazing. What did you do? He shouted at me. I felt my heart race. I had to tell them the truth, I shot back, feeling the anger rise. Truth? Or just revenge? He sneered. His words stung like a bee. Maybe he was right. I was in the middle of a messy, game of manipulation, and I didn't even know the rules. As the arguments escalated, I realized I needed to break free. I'm done playing this game, I declared, standing tall. The cafeteria fell silent. Everyone stared, and I could see the surprise in their eyes. I took a deep breath. I'm not going to let this toxic mess control me anymore. As whispers darted through the hallways like angry bees, I felt the weight of what I'd done crush me. Betrayal hung thick in the air, and my plan for revenge was only making things worse. Sarah's laughter had vanished, replaced by a look of shame. I wanted to expose her lies, but instead, I watched our friendship fall apart. Each day brought a new reminder of my choices. I thought revenge would feel good, but guilt wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. I knew I needed to heal. But how? Could I when I hurt someone I once cared about? Rebuilding trust felt impossible. I was stuck in a loop of pain and regret. Seeing Sarah suffer twisted my insides. I was torn between wanting to feel justified and missing the friendship we once had. Forgiveness seemed far away, like a dream I couldn't reach. I'd to wrestle with my guilt while figuring out how to move on. But then, something clicked. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about facing my feelings and finding a way to heal. I needed to break free from this cycle of pain, not just for Sarah, but for myself. True strength wasn't about hurting others, it was about fixing what I broke. Standing at that crossroads, I knew I'd to choose a different path. "Sarah," I said one day, my voice trembling, "I messed up. I don't want to fight anymore." Her eyes widened, surprise replacing the hurt. "You really mean that?" The moment I called Sarah, everything changed. It felt like the air thickened with tension. Friends started picking sides, and I realized loyalty was gone, and trust was shattered. Her betrayal shook the ground beneath us all. Some friends rallied behind Sarah, others stood with me, creating strange new groups. I felt like a ghost in my own circle. I wanted to confront Sarah, to shout about how she hurt me, but I hesitated. Our friendship had twisted into something unrecognizable, and I had to figure out how to navigate this mess. I didn't just want revenge, I wanted to grow. Healing from this betrayal was tough, and I felt stuck in a tangled web. The weight of what she did pressed down on me. Watching friends choose sides was like being in a war I never wanted to fight. Each decision pushed me further from who I used to be. I felt the urge to take back my power, but deep down, I wanted to forgive too. Healing isn't a straight path. It's a winding road filled with surprises. I knew I had to face Sarah. I needed to call her out. "Why did you do it?" I demanded when we finally met. "You broke us." Her eyes flickered with something. Guilt, maybe. Or was it just manipulation? "I thought it was what I had to do to survive," she said, her voice shaky. "Survive?" "You tore apart everything we built," I shot back, anger fueling my words. I thought talking to Sarah would help me understand, but instead, it showed how far she'd fallen. Her once bright smile was gone, replaced by guilt and shame. I felt a mix of anger and pity. This wasn't the Sarah I used to know. As we started to talk, I could feel the trust slipping away between us. She stumbled over her words, apologizing over and over, but her words felt empty. I wanted us both to heal, but she seemed trapped in her own regret, drowning in the mess she'd made. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, her voice shaky. But how could I forgive her when the pain was still fresh? I wanted to scream, to make her feel how much she'd hurt me. Rebuilding trust seemed like a faraway dream. The more she talked about Jake, the deeper the knife plunged into my heart. She was confused, and part of me felt sorry for her, but it didn't change the fact that she'd betrayed me. I'd to decide, let this tear us apart or find a way to move forward. But every time I looked at her, I remembered the lies. I wanted to believe we could fix this, but a dark thought nagged at me. Would we ever be the same? Our friendship was hanging by a thread, fragile and shaky. "Why did you do it, Sarah?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I thought he liked me," she cried. I shook my head, my heart aching. "You knew I liked him too." She looked down, shame washing over her. "I messed up. I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix this," I shot back. The air between us crackled with tension. Tension crackled in the cafeteria as I spotted Sarah and Jake at their usual corner table. They were whispering, and I could see their laughs spilling over like they didn't have a care in the world. My heart raced. Today was the day I'd face them. I couldn't let this slide any longer. With my friends behind me, I marched over. The chatter around us faded, and it felt like everyone was watching. My friends stood ready, back straight, supporting me. "Sarah, we need to talk," I declared, my voice loud enough to cut through the silence. She looked surprised, her grin disappearing. "What's going on?" she asked, pretending to be clueless. But I saw right through her. "You think this is funny? You kissed Jake behind my back." Gasps filled the room. I didn't care. I'd to tell the truth. Jake had the nerve to smirk, so I turned. On him too. "And you? You think it's okay to mess with people's feelings?" I shouted, my voice rising. The cafeteria was electric, tension rising like a boiling pot. I watched as Sarah's face fell, and for a moment I felt powerful. I wanted them to understand how deeply they'd hurt me. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about making them feel the weight of their actions. As I watched Sarah's face twist in pain, I felt her regret hanging heavy in the air. Her once bright eyes were now filled with tears. I'd never seen her like this. Broken. "Why did you do it?" I demanded, my voice low and sharp. Our friendship, built over years, now felt like a tower of cards ready to fall. She opened her mouth, but no words came. I could see the guilt twisting in her gut. She was fighting against her own choices. "I messed up," she finally whispered, her voice shaking. I could feel her need to explain, to make me see. But could I ever forgive her? The sting of betrayal burned. I wanted to scream, to let her feel the weight of what she'd done. Instead, I stood frozen, watching her drown in her own regret. Each second felt like an eternity. I realized Sarah wasn't just sad about her actions, she was losing me. The trust we'd built was shattered. Our once solid friendship was now tainted, and I wondered if it could ever be fixed. I felt the tension rise, thick between us, and I knew nothing could go back to how it was. "Do you even care?" I shot back, my heart racing. She flinched, and I could see the pain in her eyes. "Of course I care," she cried, desperation flooding her words. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you?" I pressed, my frustration boiling. "Over." She looked away, shame painted on her face. It was clear she didn't have the answers. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. I took a step back, shaking my head. "I can't do this. I can't just forget." Her face crumpled as I turned to leave, but I could hear her soft voice calling after me, filled with regret. "Please don't. Go." The argument blew up in the quiet hallway. Our voices echoed, drawing in a crowd of friends with wide eyes. I noticed Sarah's face turn red, and for a tiny moment I wondered if I was being too tough. But then I remembered all the lies, the hurt, and my heart turned cold again. The tension crackled in the air, and I reveled in it. There was no going back now, and I wouldn't rest until she understood the damage she'd done. Soon, everything spiraled, out of control. My friends started picking sides, and school felt like a battlefield. Instead of feeling strong, I felt trapped in a storm of anger and sadness. When I watched Sarah's life fall apart, it was a strange mix of satisfaction and regret. I wanted her to suffer, but seeing her sad made my heart ache. I was changing into someone I didn't recognize, someone filled with rage. Days turned into weeks, and I realized this revenge game would never end without more pain. I'd to face what I was doing. Each revenge act just made me angrier and deeper, in trouble. I started to see how much I was hurting, not just Sarah, but myself too. I was stuck in a cycle of pain, and if I didn't escape, I'd lose more than just a friend. "Stop this! You're only hurting yourself," my friend Jamie shouted one day. I could hear the worry in her voice, but I was too far gone to listen. While I was sitting in the library, trying to focus on my homework, I couldn't help but listen in on Jake's conversation with one of his friends. They were at a nearby table, speaking quietly, but I heard everything. My heart raced when I realized I was hearing secrets that could change everything. Jake was bragging about how he was playing me and Sarah. He laughed, saying it was easy to charm us both and that he didn't care about either of us. It felt like a punch in the stomach. This betrayal hit me hard. I thought I knew him, but hearing him talk about our feelings like they were nothing shattered that idea. Anger bubbled inside me. How could he treat us like this? I was already hurt by Sarah's betrayal, but this felt worse. Jake wasn't just a backstabber, he was a master manipulator. He'd turned my pain into a game, and I was just a pawn in his twisted plan. I couldn't just sit back anymore. I'd heard the truth now. I needed to confront both of them and show how they'd lied. As I left the library, determination surged through me. I wouldn't let their betrayal control my story. I'd make them face the truth, no matter what it took. I marched straight to where they were sitting. "Jake! Sarah!" I shouted, my voice cutting through the air. They looked up, surprise and fear flashing in their eyes. "I know what you've been doing." Jake's smile faded. "What are you talking about?" I stepped closer, my heart pounding. "I overheard." "You, Jake? You're a liar and a player. You think you can just toy with our feelings and get away with it?" Sarah shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Jake. "Wait, this isn't what it looks like." "No," I interrupted. "I won't let you twist this. You both have hurt me, and I'm done being a victim of your games." Jake tried to defend himself. "It was just a joke. You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I shot back, my voice rising. "You think—" "This is funny. This is my heart you're playing with." The library was silent now, and I could see the looks on their faces changing from shock to guilt. I'd gotten their attention, and I wasn't backing down. "You think you can mess with people like this? I won't let it happen anymore." As I replayed Jake's words, a chill ran down my spine. He'd played us both, me and Sarah, like pieces on a game board, twisting our emotions just for fun. I felt like a puppet, with no control, while he laughed at the chaos he caused. The betrayal stung, but what hurt even more was realizing how I'd let myself fall into this trap of manipulation. Jake didn't just hurt me. He toyed with our hearts, tricking us into thinking we mattered to him. Anger bubbled inside me. I needed to be strong and take back my life. This wasn't just about confronting Jake, it was about finding my own power. I wasn't a victim, I was a survivor. I'd to remind myself that I deserved better than the games he played. As I watched Sarah suffer from his lies, the feeling twisted in my gut. I wanted her to feel the pain I went through, but deep down, I knew she was also a victim. We were both trapped, but the truth about Jake's tricks lit a spark in me. I'd the strength to face the lies that kept us stuck. This wasn't just about getting back at him, it was about breaking free from someone who thrived on our hurt. Hope flickered in my heart as I realized I could take charge of my own story. I wouldn't let Jake control my feelings anymore. "Sarah, we've to talk," I said, my voice steady. She looked up, confusion mixing with pain in her eyes. "Why?" "What's the point?" she replied, tears brimming. "Because we deserve the truth. Jake is playing us, and we can't let him win," I declared. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I saw a glimmer of understanding. "You're right. It's time we take a stand." I was done being the victim. A fire sparked inside me as Sarah and I plotted our next move against Jake. He'd tricked both of us, twisting our feelings to get what he wanted, but now it was time to take back control. "Let's confront him," I told Sarah, my voice firm. We needed to show Jake the hurt he caused. I was ready to expose his lies and make him feel the weight of his actions. After school, we spotted Jake laughing with his friends like everything was fine. That made my blood boil. Sarah and I exchanged determined glances and marched over. I took a deep breath, feeling the tension crackle in the air. "Jake, we know what you've been doing," I shouted, my voice clear. The surprise on his face was priceless. He stumbled over his words, trying to deny it, but I didn't let him off the hook. I laid out everything I'd overheard. As I spoke, I felt strong. This wasn't just for me, I was fighting for Sarah too. We'd been played, and now we were flipping the script. The moment Sarah and I spotted Jake, my heart raced like a drum in my chest. We stood outside the school, nerves buzzing, ready to face him. I shot a glance at Sarah. We both looked scared but determined. This was our chance to take back control. As we walked closer, Jake was leaning against the wall, a cocky grin on his face. He'd no clue what was about to hit him. Anger boiled inside me. "Jake!" I yelled, snapping his attention. His smirk faded as surprise took over. "What's up?" he asked, acting like he didn't know. I could barely hold back my fury. "You think you can just mess with us both and walk away?" I stepped forward, my heart pounding. Sarah stood strong by my side, ready for this showdown. Jake's confidence wavered. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, trying to play innocent. I felt a surge of strength. "You used us, Jake. You lied to both of us. Control us anymore." The air felt electric as Jake's bravado crumbled right before our eyes. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Sarah and I had just confronted Jake, and everything felt different now. Our friendship was hanging by a thread. We used to share everything, our secrets, our dreams. But now, it felt like a giant wall of hurt was between us, and it was only getting taller. As we walked away from Jake, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. I thought confronting him would make us stronger, but instead, it pulled us apart. I'd called out his lies, but in doing so, I felt exposed. I was still boiling with anger over Sarah's kiss with him, but looking at her face made me realize she was hurting too. The guilt of our friendship falling apart sat heavy in my chest. Sarah chimed in, her voice steady and fierce. "We're done playing your games. You can't—" "I wanted you to feel how much you hurt me," I snapped, my voice sharp. "You think this is over?" "I didn't mean to hurt you," Sarah shot back, her eyes glistening. "It just happened." "Right, just happened," I scoffed. "You can't just kiss someone and act like it doesn't matter." We stood there, words flying like arrows, each one hitting home. I wanted her to hurt as much as I did, but deep down, I didn't want to lose her completely. Our friendship was like a rope fraying at the ends. Revenge was tempting, but it only made the chasm between us wider. "Maybe we need time apart," I said, my voice quieter now. I didn't want that, but it felt necessary. "Time? Or are you just pushing me away?" she replied, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. I knew we'd crossed a line, and healing wouldn't come easy. As I looked at her, I felt that the path to fixing our friendship was dark and twisted. It felt impossible, but I hoped maybe we could find a way back. As I trudged through the wreckage of my friendship with Sarah, I realized I'd to take back my power. The betrayal hit like a punch, leaving me dizzy and unsure. But instead of crying and feeling sorry for myself, I decided to fight back. I was done being a victim. I thought about who I was before Sarah's lies. I grabbed my hiking boots, picked up a paintbrush, and called my true friends. Each step I took felt stronger, reminding me I was more than just someone who got hurt. I was reclaiming my power, and it felt amazing. "I won't let you define me anymore," I shouted into the empty air, letting my anger out. I channeled my feelings into art and adventure instead of revenge. Healing was my new mission. I realized I let others control how I felt for too long. "I deserve respect. I deserve love," I repeated to myself, feeling a fire inside. It was okay to feel hurt. That was part of being human. Every day, I grew stronger. Instead of being the betrayed friend, I was a warrior in my own story. The pain became my fuel, pushing me to stand tall and proud. Feeling empowered, I realized I didn't want to face this alone anymore. Sarah and Jake had betrayed me, leaving me in pieces. I took a deep breath and reached out to Sarah. We agreed to meet. When we sat down, the tension was thick. I could see regret in her eyes, and honestly, I felt it too. "Why did you do it?" I asked, my voice shaky but firm. "I was manipulated," Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake twisted everything. As we talked, it became clear that moving forward together was the only way. We were both victims of Jake's lies, and maybe we could help each other heal. I'd to let go of my anger, but it felt heavy. I don't want to feel this way anymore, I confessed. We need to be honest from now on. Agreed, she nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I messed up too. I want to fix this. We laid it all out, the mistakes, the hurt, and the betrayal. It was painful, but we both knew it was necessary. I didn't want to stay stuck in this dark place. Together, we faced the truth and made a promise. I'm willing to try, I said, hope creeping in. But it's going to take time. Let's create new memories, Sarah suggested with a small smile. We can start fresh. That day marked a turning point. We learned to communicate better, to forgive, and to rebuild trust. It wasn't easy, but I felt a spark of hope. Together, we found a way to rise from the ashes of betrayal, ready to face whatever came next. The future looked brighter, especially knowing we'd face it side by side.